Today, we're going to be diving into the deep end of some very unfriendly zones. Football fans hate to hear that their favourite players are not as good as everyone claims to be, but sometimes it's just the truth. And in this video today, we're going to be looking at a few players who fall into that category. This is one overrated player from your favourite club. Where do we even start today? You know what? Let's start with Liverpool. Giorgi Mamardashvili is certainly overrated. Remember when he was signed and there were people saying Liverpool had just gotten the best goalkeeper from La Liga and that he would force Liverpool to sell Alisson? Yeah, he's simply not just that good. In fact, one could argue that he was not even good enough to displace Kelleher, but he's so overrated that the Irishman had to leave. The next club we'll be talking about is Barcelona, but before we do, can you tell us who you think is the most overrated player in Chelsea? Say the name in the comments, we'll see if we're on the same page soon. While you're there, if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, go do that right away so you never miss out on our amazing content. Okay, now to Barcelona. They have quite a number of world-class players, but we'll say Gavi is one overrated player. And we're not saying he isn't a good midfielder, he surely is. But he's just not as good as a lot of people, especially Barcelona fans, say he is. I guess Barcelona fans really love him because of his passion, his undeniable love for Barcelona, and hatred for arch-rivals Real Madrid. And those are good reasons to love a player, but when it comes to actual ability, Gavi is actually a little overrated. Even when he's 100% fit, he doesn't start for Barcelona. He can't displace Pedri, surely won't displace Frenkie, and won't displace any of Olmo or Fermin in the 10. This means that he's not one of Barcelona's best four midfielders, and you can say the same for the Spain national team. Even outside Barcelona and Spain, how many midfields in world football will a fully fit Gavi actually walk into? Just think about it for a second. But the way Barcelona fans talk about him, you would think he's one of the absolute best in the world. We love Gavi, but we just have to admit that he's a little overrated. At Manchester City, it's Phil Foden. He is a top player. One of the best in his position in the Premier League, in fact. But a lot of folks, especially the English media, still manage to overrate him. I mean, we've heard folks say that Foden is the kind of guy you should build the England team around. We've heard them say he should be the first name on the Three Lions team sheet. Like, he's good, for sure, but is he that good? We don't think so. In fact, one could argue that he doesn't get into England's strongest and most balanced 11, but the way people talk about him sometimes, you really wouldn't believe that it's the same Foden. Even when he's obviously very good, folks will still stretch it a little too far. In the 2023-24 season, for example, he surely deserved to be named Premier League Player of the Season, but we had folks saying he deserved the Ballon d'Or after getting knocked out in the quarter-final of the Champions League and having one of the worst individual Euros campaigns. Perhaps Foden is just really loved by a lot of people, which leads people to overrate him. And it's perhaps the same case with William Saliba at Arsenal. Once again, we must establish that he's indeed a top defender, but he's slightly overrated if you ask us. Saliba is one guy who always seems to have an error in him, which is something even Arsenal fans themselves have complained about. Another reason we say Saliba is overrated is because, for years, Gabriel has been the better defender, but Saliba was the one who always got the plaudits. In the 2022-23 season, Saliba was named in the PFA Team of the Year despite missing the last 2 months of the season. Then in the next 2 seasons, the PFA had 3 centre-backs in the 11 just so they could accommodate him there when it was clear that Van Dijk and Gabriel were better than him in those seasons. Yes, he's a top centre-back who'll be valuable to any team, that can never be in doubt, but he's a bit overrated if you ask us. We'll get to Chelsea in a second, but first let's talk about Real Madrid's overrated player. It's Rodrigo. Everyone, and not just Real Madrid fans, talk about him like he's legitimately one of the best players in the world when he really isn't. Rodrigo is a good team player. He has had some huge moments in big games which will forever live in the hearts of Real Madrid players all around the world, but perhaps those big moments have made people overrate him a little too much. Rodrigo has the luxury of just showing up whenever he wants and ghosting the rest of the time. When he does one good thing, he gets all the praise, but when the team does badly, Vinny and the rest get the blame. I mean, we had people legitimately putting Rodrigo in conversations with the best wingers in the world like Saka, Yamal, Salah, and even Vinny himself. But that's not even the craziest part. The biggest evidence of how overrated Rodrigo is has to be the reports that clubs were willing to sign him for over 100 million euros in the summer. Good player and all, but Rodrigo is just not worth that much. If Rodrigo is sold for 100 million euros, then Vinny should go for 200. I mean, We're talking about a guy who holds the record for longest scoreless streak by an attacker in Real Madrid history. Just one goal in a full year of league football? Yeah, even if you love him, you have to admit that he's overrated. Speaking of 100 million rated players, we just had to squeeze Carlos Baleba in here. He's a decent defensive midfielder, but over 100 million euros for him? Yeah, he's certainly overrated. He just isn't worth that much right now. Could he develop into a 100 million pound player later in his career? Perhaps, but right now, he's not. And it's sort of what Brighton do because, if you remember, Evan Ferguson was once valued at 100 million pounds by the club, but look at him now. Now, let's finally talk about the Chelsea player. It's Enzo Fernandez. He's a top player, World Cup winner, great box-to-box midfielder, but is he worth 121 million euros? I guess we can all agree that he isn't. He's another player who fans love because of the passion he shows, but can you really call him a world-class player? Adding that goal-scoring layer to his game has really helped him and his reputation because some Chelsea fans had started to grow frustrated with his playmaking and ball distribution, which are basic things you'd expect from your central midfielder, especially one you got for 121 million euros. And if you look at it critically, there's nothing he did at Benfica to warrant that price tag. At least Wirtz was named Bundesliga Player of the Year before his big money move to the Premier League, so it's a bit easy to explain it. But Enzo was at Benfica for just 6 months and ended up leaving for a British record transfer fee. Come on, that's a bit overrated, no? Now, from the Blues to the Red Devils, one overrated player there has to be Lenny Yoro. He's hyped up as the best young centre-back in the world, but in truth, he's just a regular dude. We agree that he has a lot of potential, but up until this moment, it appears that he is a bit overrated. He often has an error in him, and he still doesn't feel like he's fully ready for football at the topmost level, even at the age of 20. It's okay if he's still developing, he's young, and has his whole career ahead of him. But it's also important for the fans not to put him on a pedestal too high, because that's not even good for him either. Let's now head to France where we will talk about Désiré Doué from PSG. He's a very talented player, but will anyone argue that he's overrated? The fact that Doué was ever really compared to Lamine Yamal by a lot of people shows just how overrated he is, because he really doesn't come close to the Barcelona man. Doué is a good attacker who greatly benefits from PSG's dominance and setup, but when it comes to actual ability, he's not as good as people make him out to be. He also greatly benefits from the fact that a lot of fans don't watch him week in, week out, so all he needs to do is put up good performances in big UCL games every once in a while, and he gets best youngster in the world shouts. Now, do you agree with our list? Are there other overrated players we left out? Who would you say is the most overrated player in world football right now? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.